What if I told you that the single most effective thing you could plant to help reverse the well-documented decline in bee and pollinator populations isn't some exotic, hard-to-find specialty plant, but a handful of genuinely tough, beautiful native wildflowers that likely grew wild in your exact region long before anyone ever built a garden there at all? Stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to know exactly which native wildflowers genuinely support pollinators, and how to care for them so your garden becomes a real, meaningful contribution to the pollinator population struggling across the country. If you've ever heard about declining bee populations and colony collapse and felt like the problem was simply too large for any individual gardener to meaningfully address, I want you to reconsider that assumption completely. Research has consistently shown that native wildflowers provide dramatically more nutritional and ecological value to native pollinators than non-native ornamental plants, even objectively beautiful ones, because native pollinator species genuinely co-evolved alongside these specific plants over thousands of years, developing physical and behavioral adaptations perfectly suited to them in ways that simply don't exist with introduced species. This means that even a modest home garden, built specifically around native wildflowers appropriate to your region, genuinely contributes meaningful, measurable habitat to your local pollinator population. Individual gardens, multiplied across millions of American yards, add up to something genuinely significant for pollinator conservation. Let's talk about which native wildflowers actually provide the most reliable, high-value support across most of the United States, understanding that your specific region will have its own particular native species worth prioritizing. Purple coneflower is genuinely one of the most valuable and widely adapted native wildflowers available. Its open, accessible bloom structure supports an enormous range of pollinators, from native bees to butterflies, while its seed heads later feed birds through fall and winter. Black-eyed Susan shares this same broad, genuine pollinator value, and its cheerful, reliable blooming habit makes it a genuinely forgiving beginner choice. Wild bergamot, a native relative of cultivated bee balm, is genuinely beloved by native bees and hummingbirds alike, its lavender blooms providing reliable nectar throughout summer. Joe Pye weed brings substantial height and dramatic, dusty pink flower clusters that genuinely attract enormous numbers of butterflies and native bees during late summer, a season when many other nectar sources have already finished. Blazing star, sometimes called liatris, produces striking vertical purple spikes that are genuinely irresistible to butterflies and native bees. And goldenrod, despite an unfair historical reputation for causing allergies, which is actually caused by ragweed blooming at the same time rather than goldenrod itself, is genuinely one of the single most valuable late-season nectar sources available to pollinators preparing for winter or migration. Milkweed deserves specific mention here too, as we've discussed in the context of monarch butterflies, but its value genuinely extends to a much broader range of pollinators beyond monarchs alone. Its distinctive blooms attract numerous native bee species and other butterflies as reliable nectar sources, while remaining the singular host plant monarch caterpillars genuinely depend on. It's genuinely worth understanding that native is a regionally specific concept rather than a single national category. A wildflower genuinely native to the tallgrass prairies of the Midwest may not be native at all to the Pacific Northwest or the Southeast, and building a genuinely effective pollinator garden means researching species specifically appropriate to your own region, rather than relying purely on a generic national list. Fortunately, the species highlighted here, coneflower, black-eyed Susan, milkweed and several others, do have native ranges spanning large portions of the country, making them genuinely reasonable starting points for many American gardeners, but supplementing your planting with species specifically native to your more immediate local area, your particular state, or even your specific county genuinely maximizes the ecological value your garden provides, since the most specialized native pollinator relationships tend to be quite geographically precise. Sourcing your native wildflower seeds and plants. responsibly matters genuinely as much as species selection itself. Purchasing from reputable, native plant nurseries, rather than collecting wild seed or plants directly from natural areas, protects existing wild populations from unnecessary disturbance while ensuring you're genuinely getting the straight native species, rather than an unintentional hybrid or a look-alike, non-native substitute. Many states now have dedicated native plant societies and specialty nurseries, genuinely focused on regionally appropriate species, and seeking these out, rather than defaulting to whatever's available at a big box garden center, genuinely increases your odds of building a garden with authentic, meaningful ecological value. Seed mixes, labeled specifically as regional wildflower or pollinator mixes, can be a helpful starting point too, though it's worth reading the actual species list on the package closely, since some commercially available mixes genuinely include a mix of true regional natives, alongside non-native filler species, included primarily for quick, showy first-season color rather than long-term ecological value. Thinking about your native wildflower planting as part of a larger, connected habitat network also genuinely amplifies its value beyond your own property line. Coordinating with neighbors to plant complementary native species, or connecting your garden conceptually to nearby parks, greenways, or other natural areas, genuinely creates more effective wildlife corridors than isolated individual plantings scattered without any broader awareness of what's growing nearby. Many local conservation organizations and native plant societies across the country now maintain community mapping projects specifically tracking these kinds of connected, native plantings, and even simply discussing your project with gardening neighbors, sharing seeds or divided plants, genuinely extends your own garden's impact well beyond the boundaries of your own yard. Now let's talk about light and temperature. Because native wildflowers, having genuinely evolved within your region's specific climate conditions over thousands of years, generally have more straightforward, forgiving requirements than many cultivated ornamental varieties. Most of the native wildflowers discussed here genuinely thrive in 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily, matching the open meadow and prairie conditions many evolved within, though certain species, like Joe Pye weed, genuinely tolerate and even prefer slightly moister, partially shaded conditions reflecting their natural woodland edge habitat. As for temperature, because these species genuinely evolved within your specific regional climate, they're inherently well suited to your area's typical seasonal temperature range without requiring the careful protection or adjustment a non-native ornamental might need. This is genuinely one of the most significant practical advantages. Native wildflowers offer beginner gardeners dramatically reduced guesswork around whether a given plant can handle your specific local conditions. There's genuinely compelling scientific research behind why native wildflowers provide such outsized ecological value compared to non-native alternatives. Entomological research has documented that many native bee species, unlike the more generalist honeybee, are genuinely specialist feeders, meaning they've evolved to feed almost exclusively on specific native plant species or plant families. A garden built purely around non-native ornamentals, however beautiful, genuinely fails to support these specialist native bee populations regardless of how much nectar it superficially offers. Research on pollinator population trends across North America has documented significant declines in numerous native bee and butterfly species over recent decades, closely correlated with habitat loss, including the widespread replacement of native plant communities with non-native landscaping and monoculture lawns, meaning that restoring even small patches of native wildflower habitat genuinely represents a documented, evidence-based conservation strategy rather than simply a decorative preference. Beyond the ecological science, there's meaningful research on the human well-being benefits of engaging with conservation-oriented gardening. Specifically, studies on environmental behavior and personal well-being have found that people who feel their gardening efforts genuinely contribute to something larger than their own yard. Biodiversity, conservation, ecological restoration, report measurably higher satisfaction and sense of purpose from their gardening activities compared to purely ornamental gardening, suggesting that a native wildflower garden offers a genuine meaningful category of reward beyond simple visual beauty. Watering correctly for native wildflowers genuinely differs from typical ornamental garden expectations, particularly once established, since these species evolved to survive within your region's natural rainfall patterns without supplemental irrigation. During the first growing season, check soil moisture by pressing a finger about 2 inches into the soil, watering deeply whenever it feels dry to support strong initial root establishment. This establishment period genuinely matters regardless of a species' actual drought tolerance. Once established, typically after their first full year, most native wildflowers genuinely require minimal to no supplemental watering beyond natural rainfall in a typical season, a significant, genuinely valuable reduction in ongoing maintenance, compared to many non-native ornamental alternatives that continue requiring regular irrigation indefinitely. Fertilizing and pruning both look genuinely different in a native wildflower garden compared to a typical cultivated flower bed. Native wildflowers genuinely evolved in soil conditions without regular fertilizer application, and in fact, many species perform best in soil with lower fertility. Excess fertilizer can actually cause native wildflowers to grow disproportionately tall and floppy while producing fewer flowers, meaning skipping fertilizer entirely, or using it very sparingly if your soil is genuinely depleted, often produces better results than a typical feeding schedule. Pruning similarly stays minimal by design. Many native wildflower gardening advocates specifically recommend leaving spent flower stalks and seed heads standing through fall and winter, rather than cutting them back immediately after bloom, since these structures provide genuine habitat and food for overwintering insects and birds. A simple spring cleanup cutting us back the previous season's growth. New growth begins emerging, genuinely represents all the pruning most native wildflower gardens require, even with genuinely well-suited native plant choices. Beginners occasionally run into a few common problems, so let's troubleshoot the most frequent ones. If your native wildflowers look sparse or underwhelming during their first season, this is genuinely normal and expected. Many native perennial wildflowers invest their first year primarily into root development rather than top growth or flowering, a pattern sometimes summarized as sleep, creep, leap, referring to minimal first-year growth, modest second-year spreading, and genuinely dramatic third-year flowering. Patience, through this establishment period, is a genuine, necessary part of native wildflower gardening. If you're struggling to identify which specific species are genuinely native to your particular region, checking with your local cooperative, extension office, or a regional native plant society provides far more accurate, locally relevant guidance than general national plant lists, since genuine native status varies significantly even within different areas of the same state. If your native wildflower bed looks visually messier or less tidy than a conventional cultivated flower bed, this is genuinely part of the aesthetic many native gardens intentionally embrace, though adding a defined edge, a simple mowed strip, or low border along the perimeter genuinely helps signal to neighbors and visitors that the more naturalistic planting inside is intentional rather than neglected. And if you're sourcing seeds or plants and want to ensure genuine ecological value, look specifically for straight native species rather than heavily hybridized cultivars. Bred primarily for ornamental traits, since some of these bred varieties genuinely produce nectar or pollen than their straight native counterparts despite superficially similar appearance. What makes building a garden specifically around native wildflowers such a genuinely meaningful project for beginners is how it transforms ordinary gardening into a documented, evidence-based conservation contribution, rather than simply creating a beautiful space for your own enjoyment. Though it genuinely does that too, you're actively restoring a small piece of the specific ecological relationships that sustained your region's pollinator populations for thousands of years before modern landscaping largely replaced them. It's worth remembering, too, that the collective impact of this kind of gardening genuinely depends on scale. A single native wildflower bed helps, but a neighborhood, a subdivision, or a whole community, gradually shifting even a portion of its collective landscaping toward native species, creates genuinely meaningful, connected habitat corridors that isolated individual efforts alone cannot achieve, which is exactly why sharing what you learn, and sharing seeds and the divided plants with neighbors, who show interest, genuinely multiplies your own garden's impact, well beyond what any single yard could accomplish on its own. So this season, research a handful of native wildflowers genuinely appropriate to your specific region. Coneflower, black-eyed Susan, and milkweed are broadly reliable starting points across much of the country. Plant them in your sunniest available spot, and be patient through that first quiet establishment season. You'll likely find that few gardening projects offer quite the same sense of genuine, meaningful purpose as watching your own small patch of native wildflowers become a real, measurable part of your local ecosystem's recovery. One modest backyard planting at a time, contributing to something genuinely larger than itself. If you love learning about seasonal flowering plants, vegetables, gardening tips, and nature care, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nature Nurture Hub, your home for year-round garden inspiration. Let's keep growing together.